Well, we've made it into the new year finally, 2021. I like the sound of that number, folks, and welcome to the Cabana here in January of the new year. I want to say that we are still in the midst here in California, specifically LA, of a serious pandemic crisis. So we're going to be masking for a few months more, the medical professionals tell us, even though vaccination process has begun. Also, UCLA has forecast a projection of how COVID and the pandemic will actually melt away and move into a period of growth for us here in the U.S. economy. I'll speak about that later in today's session because today I'm going to first focus on buyers. I think we start the new year out focusing on buyers, how they select properties, how to get started. And indeed, it is a process for buyers. And in a large metropolitan city like Los Angeles, or it could be San Diego, Atlanta, even a mid-sized city, Sacramento, Topeka, Kansas, wherever the buyer is beginning their search, there's the decision about whether to focus on a specific neighborhood of interest or to look at a various broad palette of neighborhoods. Certainly in LA, we're talking about quite a laundry list of neighborhood choices, which is fabulous about this city's real estate and one of the fun things for agents who support our clients like us. So, in deciding about a specific neighborhood search, a buyer that is that focused on one location, can get started right away. Hopefully you have a agent relationship and the agent knows your preferences for house size, budget, amenities, views, no views, big yard, pool, no pool, all of those buyer determinants. Or maybe you're still selecting an agent. Well, let's talk about the difference in a neighborhood specialist agent and an agent that knows a broader region. And what are the differences? Often I find buyers approach me and say, we want to work with a neighborhood specialist here in Westwood. We want to work with a specialist in Hollywood Hills and someone down in Culver City and Venice. And sure, you can do that way. And it's going to take a lot of organization. The agents might kind of trip over each other in trying to serve your interest, which is good, but could be a little bit of an organizational mess. The old adage, too many cooks in the kitchen, perhaps. I don't think it's necessary if you work with a talented regional agent. And what does a regional agent do? I happen to be a regional agent, so I have broad knowledge from the Hollywood Hills, even Pasadena, all the way across the city out to the coastline, Santa Monica, Pacific Palisades, Venice, or up the coast to Malibu. Does that mean I know every house in the city? Probably not. Sometimes I feel like I've seen them all. But what it does mean is that I have a network of agents whom I trust in my veteran years of working the city. And so I will pinpoint the neighborhood specialists that are colleagues of mine. I'll get that info for my client without the buyers having to, do all the organization of that. So hopefully your agent, if it's not us, can be a regional agent and can unite that network for you. Or you're only looking in Westwood, the neighborhood specialist, you'll be well on your way. Let me make mention of an important consideration for buyers, school district designation. Look, even if you as a buyer don't have children or are not planning children or had children and they're gone and you're an empty nester, the school district has a significant impact on real estate value. So, look, in a school district that may be known for very high academic achievement, great parent-teacher coordination, all of the factors that make us aware of a good school versus a not so good school, those neighborhoods attract family buyers, no question. And they pay a premium usually to get into that school district. So please know that has an effect on pricing when you're searching neighborhoods. And I've actually had buyers who do not have children, and that's not a consideration for them, decide to live in a neighborhood that does not have such a reputation school district to save the purchase price premium that you pay to be in one. So that's just a consideration, I think, pretty much in any city. Another designation of search factors is, are you going to be using the convenient tools such as Zillow, Redfin, or the MLS Guest Pass? Very important to give a few moments here. Look, I think Zillow is on almost everyone's phone in the United States. That company has grown into a multi-billion-dollar franchise and organization, and they serve a good purpose, let's admit it. But I know the founder of Zillow, and he will tell you, and has been quoted in the paper, that the famous Zestimate, their approximation of your home value, is built in with at least a 10% variance. There's no way an application yet can tell you your home value. Guess who tells you the home value? The buyer who writes the check. That's who determines your home value when you're a seller. Not always easy for sellers to understand that. And the prevailing market, of course. But back to the Zestimate. So we have a Zestimate, and often I have buyers and sellers call me and say, the house value is X on Zestimate. And I'm like, well, it's a little bit off. Sometimes not always 10%. But, you know, depending on your price point, it might be $1 million off. We have a property that our team listed in Bel Air, right about $4.1 million. While we were representing the property, the Zestimate changed from $6 million and at one point down to 3.5. If you were a buyer and trying to track that value, you would have been millions of dollars off. Ultimately, we placed that home in contract just under $4 million, which was what we as the agents expected the price range to be. So, Redfin, a very user-friendly application. In fact, some of my clients, even real estate agents, love the Redfin app. Easy to use. Enjoy that. They don't get involved in estimating your home value. So, what we will say is that another great opportunity that your real estate agent can set up is something called the MLS Guest Pass. I recommend you try that out. The MLS Guest Pass gives you, as the visitor, the immediate access to the information. There's no delay that the third-party service vendors have. You get immediate notification when a property that meets your needs hits the market. Also, it gives you the real listing agent information. You know, on Redfin and Zillow and the other search sites like that, the agents you see next to a property are those who have paid to appear. They're not usually the listing agents, but they're advertising agents. So you call them and you ask some details about the house, they probably don't know it as well as the listing agent. So that's why I do recommend you consider using the MLS Guest Pass. So, back to the 2021 market forecast. How will it behave as best as we can predict? Well, I want to return to that UCLA forecast for the economic outlook that I promised when we first began. And I'm just going to read to you an exact quote. They released the report that said there will be a gloomy COVID winter and an exuberant vaccine spring for the U.S. economy, ultimately leading to a roaring 20s effect of new growth and advancement. They predict that there's going to be eventual 3% growth for the U.S. gross domestic product each quarter well into 2023. So folks, that's at least a 2-year forecast of growth. Roaring 20s getting started. Boy, I hope that UCLA forecast is right, but it's going to trigger something that buyers should know. And this has been our buyer session to kick off the year. And that is, when the economy starts to percolate like that and everybody's ready for an improving economy, you can expect real estate prices to begin to rise. I think you can also expect that the mortgage rates, which have been historically low for a couple of years now, they're going to begin to rise. Look, I'm no economist, but I've seen many different economic plateaus in my career, meltdowns and incredible accelerations. I don't have the crystal ball, but what I will tell you is that if you're working with us, we will give you the best of all of our intelligence, our real estate experience. We love helping buyers. We love representing our sellers. We love what we do. And once again, Happy New Year. We are so glad we're here now. Until next time.